Which games are crucial for the Denver Nuggets in the 2025-26 season? This is your Denver Sports Daily for August 15th.
The biggest stories, the latest news. It's Denver Sports Daily.
The Nuggets schedule, in fact, the entire NBA schedule was released yesterday, and now we've gotten some insight into what the most important matchups will be. Now, what the most important matchups will be is kind of hard to decipher because, you're playing every team when you're in the NBA. You go around and you play every team, usually away and at home. So you're going out there and you're getting to see every person and every teammate and every player in the league. So it's kind of hard to decipher what the most important ones will be, but there are periods of time where there are going to be tough stretches, there are going to be easy stretches, and there are going to be crucial games that you have to win if you want to consider yourself a championship team. And some of those come without saying. You're looking at the Christmas Day game against the Timberwolves. You're looking at any matchup against the OKC Thunder, and we'll get into that in a bit. But the first stretch that seems pretty important are the first 3 games of the season. They're actually going to be pretty tough. On October 23rd, the Nuggets play the Warriors in Golden State for the season opener. They're actually headlining tip-off week. They're playing the 4th game, and they're playing that last game at night, so primetime game for the Nuggets. Then the Nuggets have their home opener against the Phoenix Suns. Now, that one would have been a bigger deal last year, but if you follow the NBA, you know that Kevin Durant recently left the Phoenix Suns to join the Houston Rockets. So the Phoenix Suns are not going to be the same team that they are, along with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's gone as well. So that is not the same team any longer. I would not be surprised if the Suns didn't even make the playoffs, but still going to be a tough battle against Devin Booker, who is one of the better shooting guards in the league. But then the Nuggets have their first real challenge of the season as they travel to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. First 3 games in the season, you're playing the Warriors, the Suns, and then capping it off with the Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves are the thorn in the Nuggets' back. They are always there. They are always, being a pain. They for some reason have the Nuggets number, and they just know how to beat this team. And that's partially because they were built to beat this team. They were built and completely built around beating Nikola Jokic, and they've continued to do so. The past 2 years have been hard for the Denver Nuggets anytime they match up against the Timberwolves, and that's not really given any credit to Rudy Gobert based on the fact that he guards Nikola Jokic all the time, because Nikola Jokic had a 60-point triple-double over Rudy Gobert last season. So if his team can provide around him, then the Nuggets should be able to finally beat the Timberwolves this season. Another great stretch of games is the NBA Cup. And I kind of touched on this yesterday and how much I really like the NBA Cup. It's fun to see, the new court designs, putting some effort into that stuff. The NBA's taken this and made something out of it. And this will be the 3rd season of the NBA Cup. So seeing those matchups here, the Nuggets take on the Blazers on October 31st. That's a Halloween game. So that's 2 holidays that the Nuggets will be playing on. And then the Nuggets versus Warriors. That's the second matchup with Nuggets versus Warriors that we're touching on. That's on November 7th. And then Nuggets versus Rockets on November 21st. And as I mentioned earlier, Kevin Durant is now on the Rockets. So that'll be a hard battle. And then to cap off the first round of the NBA Cup, the Nuggets will take on the Spurs on November 28th. That is Black Friday. Another fun game. Of course, Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic going at it. Those are always going to be must-see TV. Now, the next game that will be a must-watch is against the Timberwolves on Christmas Day. And of course, I talked about this a little bit earlier. The Timberwolves are a hard team to beat. They're crafted to beat the Nuggets. But on Christmas Day, anything can happen. And the last time the Nuggets played in town on Christmas Day, Aaron Gordon had one of the best dunks of all time. Nikola Jokic put up a 40-point, 15 rebound, 15 assist triple-double. I was actually at that game, and the energy there was unfathomable. It was insane to see that energy, that crowd, everybody was in it. So seeing that mixed with the Timberwolves, and that was just the game against the Suns. So now you're seeing a main rival with the Timberwolves taking on the Nuggets at home on Christmas. I cannot wait. Now that Timberwolves game will be big for a couple reasons, how crazy the game will be, the atmosphere and everything, but mostly because it's the last home game that the Nuggets will play before they go on a 7-game road trip. That's one of those hard stretches I was talking about earlier. From December 27th to January 5th, the Nuggets will be entirely on the East Coast, playing Orlando, Miami, Toronto, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philly, and Boston. So you're getting a couple good matchups there too. Orlando is, of course, a growing team. Paolo Banchero is a solid player, very LeBron James-esque. Miami, we beat them back in the championship, so not really much growth there, and they lost Jimmy Butler. Toronto, not a very good team. Cleveland was the 1 seed last year, one of the better teams in the league. They went on a crazy run where they weren't losing at all last season, so we'll see if they can carry that into this year. And then Brooklyn, a Michael Porter Jr. and Nuggets reunite. You get to see Michael Porter Jr. out in his new home in Brooklyn. And then Philly, a Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic matchup. And then Boston, who, of course, won the championship 2 years ago. So a couple good games and a couple easy wins. There should be a few storylines that come out of that big road trip for the Nuggets. Now, another thing that the Nuggets schedule showed is that they won't get to see the reigning champs OKC until February 1st, where they'll welcome them to Denver. And then another big stretch is the last 6 games of the season, where there's going to be a mix of good and bad. And as we know, with how the Western Conference has been in the past couple seasons, the last 6 games is where you're really going to see the most movement. And it's been really tight in the West the past couple of years, the past 5 years, honestly, it's been tight. And last year, it was incredibly tight. So seeing how they finish off these last 6 games will be wild. They play Utah, San Antonio twice, Portland, Memphis, and OKC. Now, San Antonio, they play them earlier in that 6-game trip, and then they play them at the final game of the season. If you remember, a couple seasons ago, the Nuggets were fighting for the number 1 seed. They ended up losing the number 1 seed because they lost to San Antonio in the last game of the season, a game that the Nuggets should have won. They were heavy favorites, and they ended up losing that number 1 seed and not being able to succeed because of how they played against the San Antonio Spurs. So that'll be another very reminiscent game of how it finished a couple seasons ago. If they can go out there and win those big games where they need to, they're must-win games all the time when you're in the late stages of the season. You got to win those. So if they can go out there and finish strong, we could be seeing the Nuggets easily get the 1st seed. I'm so high on this Nuggets team. I could not honestly be higher. I think that they're a better team than the 2023 championship squad. And they can definitely, in my eyes, win the championship again this year. I'm very excited to see how that all goes this upcoming season. Now, moving on, the Broncos play their 2nd preseason game of the year tomorrow. The Broncos are taking on the Arizona Cardinals tomorrow at home after their joint practice sessions. They did one yesterday, and then they did one today. And we saw a lot of fun stuff happening at their joint practice yesterday. You know, we saw a scuffle. We saw people getting into it. It was getting rowdy. We saw a couple great throws from everybody. Bo Nix looked better than he had. And, you know, we got a pretty good insight into what this matchup will look like. I was sitting right there watching the Broncos offense go up against the Cardinals defense, and there was a lot to like about the Broncos offense yesterday. Now, Sean Payton did announce that most of the starters will sit for tomorrow's game, which isn't necessarily good news at all, as last week, the starting unit didn't look great. But Jarrett Stidham, he did look great. He looked to continue his offseason with another great performance tomorrow. And I cannot be higher on how good of a training camp or a camp Jarrett Stidham has had. He's been incredible so far. I've seen only good things from Jarrett Stidham. And honestly, what it looks like he's doing is building a resume, not only for Sean Payton, but for other coaches around the league. And it's not the worst thing to do. I mean, you're obviously wanting to be a starting quarterback in this league, and he's doing all the right things to do so. He's just got to continue growing. But right now, he looks like a great backup QB. Now, another fun thing to watch, or interesting thing to watch at least, is the running back room. We don't really know who the real RB1 will be. So I expect all the running backs to get out there and play tomorrow. And we'll maybe get some insight, a little bit of a hint at least, as to who the true running back 1 will be come regular season. Now, kickoff is tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., and the Broncos are entering the game as 3-point favorites. So I mean, those are always games where it's the preseason. It doesn't really matter at all. I mean, as I said a couple of days ago, I can't remember if it was on this show or the rundown, but if we're in week 17 and the Broncos are fighting for a playoff spot, who's going to be talking about week 2 of the preseason? I'd be surprised if anybody's talking about it at all. but these are very good chances to see what the team is shaping out to be. Are they really looking competitive in the preseason? Are there spots that are still going to be moved in the depth chart? All of that comes with preseason. And of course, the more preseason games that you watch, the more movement you'll end up seeing in the depth chart. Now, that'll do it for Denver Sports Daily. I do want to read some of your comments. Good morning, Joey. Yes, Knicks balled out yesterday. It's being talked about big time. Let's wait for the regular season. Yeah, no, I mean, Knicks went off yesterday. It was the best camp performance I've seen him have so far. And I was pretty down on his training camp before that. It wasn't very great at all. But Bo Nix looked solid yesterday, and more than solid. He looked like the same quarterback we saw last year. And if he can continue to grow on what he did last year, his performances, he will be amazing. So we just need to continue watching how he performs in camp, how he performs, obviously not this preseason game, but next preseason game. And then that first game of the season is right around the corner. And I can't wait to see how he performs when the lights are really on. It's fun to watch the NBA Cup. It is fun. It's a fun time. It's fun that they did something, they made something new, and they wanted to continue growing the NBA and implementing new little fun things outside of the All-Star game. Now, that'll do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I will be back with you guys again on Monday, recapping this huge preseason game. Let's see how the backups go out there and play. Is Jarrett Stidham going to continue his Linsanity run? I really hope so. But that'll do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I will see you on Monday. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Bye, y'all.